Every day is a great day to talk about racing, especially today. Welcome into another edition of TF4's F1 Roundtable. On behalf of Chaz Day, I'm Brock Young, and we welcome back our Williams guru, Mr. Mike Allen. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good. Doing good. Thawing out.
We are here to give you the most interesting and creative insight into Formula One. Mike, I'm kind of glad you're here this week because we want to jump into this story right here. Only 3 teams kept their drivers from last season. That's one of them is Mercedes, and one of them is your team, Williams. And they also announced an old senior advisor joining them, and Jenson Button. What do you expect from Jenson Button and the Williams team there, Mike?
Well, hopefully he brings a little bit of gravitas and stability to that team and leadership. And I think that's what's been lacking with Williams is just solid leadership. It almost seemed like they had a bunch of chefs in the kitchen, all with great ideas, but nobody really could bring everything together and focus everybody on the common purpose of getting a car fast enough for the drivers to be able to get out of last place. I mean, it's disheartening. I mentioned it before. It's disheartening when you get a tweet from the Williams team and it's like, hey, guys, P27 and 28, the guys did great. No, they didn't. They sucked. They were in the last place. They were lapped. And a lot of that I think a lot of it had to do with the car. So hopefully he brings a little bit of stability to be able to get people focused enough to get the car to the point where the drivers have a shot to win. Not just get to the middle of the pack and win the points, but to win.
Exactly. And personally, what I expect from Williams this season is not just move up, not just only a couple spots, but they could follow into that mid-tier of constructors. It could go follow into AlphaTauri, Aston Martin, Alpine, all of them right there. And for me, we'll get into the Constructors' Championships later on, what we expect from them. But for me, that mid-tier could go either way. So if Williams could get into that mid-tier, which I think they would, that could bode very, very well for Williams starting this season. Chaz, do you see something different than what I see here?
I mean, in order to get into the mid-tier, they have to be better than AlphaTauri, Aston Martin, Alfa Romeo, and Haas. I mean, Haas is kind of easy. I mean, I don't know. I don't. That seems like a big jump. Obviously, like Mike said, like having new management or at least new leadership in there definitely could make a difference. But I mean, they still have to solve some pretty big engineering issues. It's not just a matter of morale that's holding them back. So it would be very impressive, but leadership doesn't improve engineering.
Well, this is true, but they also bring in Dorilton Capital, which they're going to bring in some cash. But we talked about last week how all the teams are now under a spending cap of $145 million this year, trying to basically even everybody out. But for me, Mike, I don't.
This year, or I thought that was next year.
No, it's starting this year, 2020.
Oh wow!
It's starting the spending cap this year. So I said before, they keep in the same drivers, so they see something in the drivers, especially George Russell there. But for me, Mike, I don't know. It's just I see them. I mean, we'll talk about Haas in a minute because that's going to upset me right there. But I don't see too much with Alfa Romeo.
Well, Latifi brings money. He's got a lot of money behind him. So yeah. I mean that's kind of his value add, I would say. But I think George Russell's the much better driver.
Oh yeah, and we talked about this a couple of weeks ago. We see like on our winners and losers, but I saw George Russell as a potential championship winner. But if you give him the right car, and said before, I think they're on the steps to becoming a better, much better team. And as you point out, Chaz, but Mike, do you see the same thing as Chaz did with, management does not really help out the team that much as far as engineering and stuff like that?
Well, I think their intentions are good. I don't think it's an intentional. It's anytime you have especially with Williams, it was an established family. So you have this, it gets stale, and it gets to the point where there's nobody that has the vision to push it to the next level. So they kind of get caught into, and I get a lot of this off the Netflix Drive to Survive series, which if you haven't watched that yet, that's a fantastic. It's like a inside look at all of the F1. So they visit all the teams. And one of the common things thread that I heard with the Williams team is that there's nobody breaking out of the pack to make the changes necessary to get the right machine underneath those drivers. And, you know, when you got a car, I mean, George Russell, in I think it was 2 years ago in the 19 season, he was going down a straightaway and cars were just passing him. And he's like, this is crazy. I'm dead out. I'm going as fast as this car can go. Why are we even out here? You know, what's the point? You know, and you got these cars just blowing by me, and I'm got my DRS open. And it was a very frustrating time. And you just see the cars are just blowing by him. And of course, they get lapped about every single. It needed a fresh look, some fresh eyes, maybe some different ideas to shake things up and get people moved in the right direction to get a good machine under these drivers. Because what they're doing now isn't working.
Well, you said this last week too, Mike. Like, the good thing is that they're in last, right? So they can't get any worse.
It can't get any worse.
So they can take some risks. I mean, so I'm excited to see. Maybe this means that they will break out of the box and take some risks and try something new. I mean, the worst that could happen is they repeat what happened last year, which is, you know, what difference does it make? At least you took a shot. At least you have some new data to kind of compare it to. But if you do the same thing, I mean, obviously you're going to get the same results. At least you have something to compare it to if you try something new.
And there's also the money issue. So the cap that everybody's going to have is also going to help out, because Williams is one of the poorer teams. They don't have the even with you know, with their sponsorship, them, and I think the other one, the other poor team. I can't think of it off the top of my head. They just don't have the capital to put together what they need to get the car. So, you know, there's a deficit there, and they didn't use those funds wisely to make the best of a bad situation. I mean, that's why I had a question. You know, you got a Mercedes power plant in the Williams cars and the Mercedes power plant in the Mercedes cars, but how come the Williams cars are 10 times slower? Right. You know, you take George Russell and stick him in Hamilton's car, and he's leading the whole race. You know, you put him in a Williams car, he can't even get out of the grid. I think they only made it into the second round of qualification 2 or 3 times maybe, and that was because the other cars were having mechanical difficulties.
Mm-hmm. Well, Mike, they're not not one of the poorest. They are the poorest, because they spent $132 million, which is the lowest last year of any team.
Yeah. Well, they got 0 points.
0 points.
0.
Now, granted, AlphaTauri was right next to them, which was Toro Rosso last year, but they were 138. They were not too far off, but still. Yeah, we talked about that last week, but I don't know. I just see, as y'all pointed out earlier, you know, you can't finish worse than last. So, I mean, this is, granted, a building season for everybody. But for me, I think Williams will probably benefit, one of the better teams to benefit from it this season. But we shall see.
Well, even if they score a point that did better than last year, I'd like to see them at least mid-pack. If you can, if you're fighting to get in the points every race, that's better than being lapped by damn near everybody.
I mean, let's be honest. Are they going to come top 10? I mean, top 10 is like not. I mean, it's one thing to be mid-pack. It's another thing. I mean, obviously 10 is literally mid-pack, but I mean, but being top 10 or breaking that top 10 is like, it's not going to be an easy deal. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know about them. I don't know about the team. I don't know about obviously they got a great driver, but like I just have no faith in their engineering team at all.
Well, the top tiers right now, you're looking at Mercedes, Red Bull. Even though they finished sixth last year, you got Ferrari. I even would throw um, McLaren in the top tier, lower top tier, but top tier nonetheless.
No, I think they are. I think they're going to outperform Ferrari this year.
So that leaves that's four. So it leaves the other four, including Williams, in the mid tier. So before you got Toro Rosso, I'm sorry, you got AlphaTauri, you
Mhm.
got Alpine, and
Renault.
Renault, and you got Williams, and you got Aston Martin. Those four teams right there could very well make up the mid tier. And do you see the same way, Mike, or you see something different?
Well, I mean, yeah. Well, anything's better than the same old, same old. But yeah, I mean, I see if trying to organize my thoughts here.
Mhm.
If I mean, if they can get it together to get their machines right, they have the drivers. All the teams have the drivers,
Right,
but they're going to have to make some changes. Because of course, if they move into the mid tier, you're going to move four down into the bottom.
right.
So who's in the mid tier now that's not going to improve? We know Mercedes is still going to be a class act, so they're going to be at the top. We know that Red Bull is going to be right up there with them, even though they'll be searching for a new power plant here after this year. I mean, if you look at all the races last year, it was Bottas, Hamilton, Verstappen, or Hamilton or Hamilton, Bottas, Verstappen, or Hamilton, Verstappen, Bottas. I mean, it was, and then the other Red Bull cars was right there up in the top five, top seven. But to move those four into the mid tier, I mean, then the question is who's not going to keep up? Who's going to be bringing up the rear then?
Well, we'll talk about that here in a minute, but there's another story coming out of Honda and Red Bull, AlphaTauri, and their potential engines. It was just reported on F1 because honestly, Red Bull just released their car for 2021. Looks really good. Looks the same to me, but I mean, they made some minor details to it. But and I was trying to wait till everyone reveals their cars for us to have like the best. We think we'll have the best looking car at the end going into the season. But this right here is going to be really interesting because the power unit for 2022 that Honda was planning on, they were going to postpone it. But now, since they're going to be leaving Red Bull, it said right here in Formula1.com that says that they're planning on releasing it by towards the end of 2021. So we're going to see a new power unit for Red Bull and AlphaTauri by the end, at least before the end of the season, maybe after the break they have. And said this is also by Christian Horner, Red Bull's boss. They will continue to assist us, talking about Honda here, during the 2022 assemblies of engines. They have tremendously accommodated to enable us to happen to give us the necessary time to get it geared up. They will continue to be optimistic for the engine. They brought us forward developments and that they plan for next year already into this, which is an enormous effort. For me, I think this is a great news because I kind of wanted to see where Red Bull will take this new engine, this new power unit. But when they announced this on Twitter earlier, I mean, the comments they have on it was just like, oh, you can see Max on side of the road, side of the track, yelling at the bosses and everything. It's like, same old type of thing. And like one guy, he had, it's like the picture's still going to be the same up front. It's like the rear of the Mercedes they showed. So, but for me, I think this is going to be fantastic news for Red Bull, unless you see something different, Chaz.
I think the only thing that actually matters for Red Bull is taking home some sort of trophy. So whether it's constructors or a driver's championship, I think anything other than that is a bust. I think that this is maybe it builds some morale amongst their fans, but it's possible. It's very possible that they could have some real momentum coming into this year. I mean, they won the last race of last year. Maybe they'll have some real momentum. I don't think getting a new engine at the end of this season will make any material difference. If anything, it'll only make things more complicated because they'll be mid-season trying to figure things out. Let's say the championship is close towards the end of the season. Well, now they got a new engine and they're trying to figure that out at the end. It would be better if it was at the beginning of the season. Like I said, the only thing that actually is going to matter for Red Bull, in my opinion, is if they actually take some sort of trophy home. Anything else is just good for the fans. They're trying to build some morale.
How about you, Mike? You see something different from Red Bull this season?
Well, I hope I don't, because they're right there. They're right at the cusp. If I do see something different, I hope it's that they get over that lip and knock Mercedes off the perch. Not because I hate Mercedes, but I like to see a little parity. And they're a class act to begin with. So I'd like to see them have a little more, I'd like to see them in the mix in the end of it. They came in second last year in constructors, right?
Yeah.
If I remember, yeah. And they were right there. I mean, they were close. So I hope they don't change, because the only change, like Williams, any change they make is an improvement. Any change that Red Bull makes, it might not be to their best interest. They might want to keep going the way they're going and just keep the pressure on Mercedes.
Well, everybody has to change a new power unit by 2022. I think Red Bull, and because of the situation with Honda, they're just getting a jump on it right now. So they are the first ones to have the taste of the new power unit. So I think this may, even though towards the end of the season they may have problems by 2022, they very well be the head of the pack, per se. But Chaz, do you see something like that will take an effect, or you see something different?
Well, I think I want to comment on something that Mike said. So I actually, as far as the constructors go, it wasn't super close. Looking at the numbers, so Mercedes had 573 points, and Red Bull was second. They were in second place, but they're at 319 points. The third place team was McLaren, and they had 202 points. So they still have a lot of wiggle room, even between them. But Mercedes also had a crap ton of space. 573 points versus 319, and that's really because Alex Albon he struggled last season. He struggled a lot. I think the big difference for this season, I mean, if you look at just driver lineups, I mean, getting Sergio Perez is a huge addition for Red Bull. Thank God it worked out for him, where Vettel goes over to, pushes him out of his seat, because I think that may be that's a legitimate contention for the best driver lineup compared to Lewis and Bottas, which I'm not a huge Bottas fan, honestly. So I would actually give the edge on pure driver ability to Max and Sergio.
I totally agree. I think that's a great pairing. I think they complement one another perfectly. So, I mean, honestly, I go back to my point. It's just like, they're introducing the power unit 2022. Who will have the edge going into next season with that power unit? And I feel it is going to be Red Bull. I think this is a great move for them, even though they may suffer towards the end of the year. So they have to make strides right now, in the beginning part of the season, before the break, before they introduce the power unit. But I see something from Red Bull this season. But Mike, you said something to me right before we started filming here, which is really unique. You see a split between Red Bull and AlphaTauri here?
Well, it's not necessarily split. There's still going to be kind of the same company.
Mhm.
I guess I'm not really sure the structure that they have, the relationship they have with each other. Uh, but both of them are under the same stable, and AlphaTauri has always been seen as the second team. It's Red Bull, and then it's the other guys, and they've kind of made a move to separate themselves from that label, and be more of a like a mid tier or even top tier team, and get away from the Red Bull kind of stigma, I guess, of being the stepchild or the stepbrother or the twin that no one pays attention to.
Yeah, the ugly twin.
The ugly twin. And that's just something I caught on Facebook the other day that I watched, and they're moving forward with a power plant design that's kind of breaking away from Red Bull. The thought process that I got from watching that piece was that they feel that Red Bull is getting most of the attention, most of the funding, most of the anything that new comes down, it's going to Red Bull. They're kind of getting the leftovers, and they want to be more of the team that gets preference.
Mhm.
Oh, they definitely are. That's a good point. Like,
I'm sorry?
no, that's a good point. They definitely are. So, like, just to give you some context, Red Bull spent 445 million last season. AlphaTauri for like Toro Rosso spent 138 million. I mean, it's it's not even.
That's a big difference.
Mhm. Very big difference.
And I never noticed. Well, I didn't notice until that piece that AlphaTauri has the Red Bull in their logo, and I guess I just never caught that. I never made the connection.
Mm-hmm. Well, I feel like AlphaTauri is going to be a one heck of a team this coming up season, because you still got Pierre Gasly, who's not the best, but he is a pretty good driver, and you have this, and there's only 3 rookies starting this season, but I feel Yuki Tsunoda is going to be the rookie of 2021 for Formula One. He will stand out because the other 2 are with Haas, which we'll get to here in a minute. But
First driver born in the 2000s. Yuki.
I was going to save this for a little bit later, but I'm going to throw a little curveball here, and I'm going to get your opinion on this, guys. Who will win their first championship? Max Verstappen or Daniel Ricciardo? Chaz, what do you think?
Oh, I don't. Wait, who will win it? Like this season, or who is going to win it?
Who's going to be the first person? That doesn't have to be the season. Who's going to be the first person to win their championship? Max or Daniel?
I don't think that Daniel will win one.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't think that he'll win one. I think that that Max. The only way that Max won't win one is if he has the kind of luck that that Alonso has had towards the end of his career. Because everyone agrees that Alonso is still a world-class driver. He was even when he left. I think it was 2017 when he left McLaren. But they just had an awful car. And he's just been unlucky. He's just been making unlucky moves. When he went to Ferrari, they were having some tough seasons, right? So I think the only way that Verstappen won't win a championship is because of the limitations of a car, not because of his personal limitations. I don't think that that Daniel. Well, I'll say this: Daniel Ricciardo is a great driver. He's a very, very, very good driver. I also believe that there are drivers that are better than him, and if there's at least one driver that's better than you, you don't win a world championship. Kind of by definition, or you have to have a good car too. So maybe he'll get lucky, but Max is known for outperforming his car. You look at Albon, what Albon was able to do, and even with their struggles last season, he was able to still outperform that Red Bull. So I say if I had to bet money, it'd be on Verstappen.
What about you, Mike?
Well, I think the only thing keeping Verstappen from winning a championship is Lewis Hamilton. Take Lewis Hamilton out of the mix, Verstappen's the guy, I think. He's always in the top three, always, always. Doesn't matter what else is going on. It's Hamilton, and then he's one of the next two cars. And I think Chaz is right. He outdrives his car.
Yeah.
Which, if I was Red Bull, I'd be trying to build a car around his abilities instead of trying to get him to milk what he can out of the car. But there's no reason why he can't win the championship, but he's got to overcome that one guy. That's it. It's Verstappen versus Hamilton. Everybody else is kind of there, but he's got to beat Hamilton. I would say he'd have to at least, because even when Hamilton loses, he loses big. He doesn't lose little. He might get beat by Bottas by a little bit, or he might get beat by Verstappen by a little bit. But the other times that Hamilton hasn't won, Sergio Perez won and Pierre Gasly won. I think it was Gasly won because Hamilton got a 45-second penalty and had to sit in pit row for 45 seconds, and then he went back out on the track and made it all the way back up to 8th place with the rest of the team just lapping people left and right. So that kept him out. And then the other one is he wasn't even in the race because he was out with COVID. So basically those are the two of the four races Hamilton didn't win, where he wasn't even in contention. And the other ones were Verstappen beat him, and then Bottas beat him once. So, but for Verstappen to win the championship, he's got one guy right now, and that's Hamilton, that he's got to beat.
It'd be interesting, Brock. It would be interesting, and this could happen because there have been talks about Bottas, being outed in Mercedes. It would be interesting if Ricciardo ended up in a Mercedes seat. I think that could actually be pretty interesting, and I don't know what that outcome would be, just because now you're dealing with Max is a better driver. Mercedes is a better car, so that'd be very interesting.
Totally agree with that assessment. I think you put Max in any one of those Mercedes cars, he wins every race.
Absolutely, man. But to your point on that one, Chaz, that well, Daniel, I think what he signed a 2 or 3 year deal with McLaren, if I'm mistaken.
I think so, yeah.
So he's there for a little bit. So I don't know if he's going to go to Mercedes. In fact, I think if anything, George Russell might be the next one in line for the Mercedes seat, just if Bottas does leave, or either Hamilton or Bottas leave for that matter. And also to another point there, Chaz, that that Ricciardo lately has been not really jumping team to team to team, but he's been jumping around a little bit. Max has been in that seat for a good while now. I think he likes Red Bull. Now, I said the same thing about Vettel. I thought Vettel would never leave Red Bull because of all the championships he won. But at least right now, I don't see Max leaving Red Bull. So I think with everything that we just talked about earlier with Red Bull and Honda Power Unit, I think he will definitely have it before Daniel. But this is the fun part about it. We could all speculate, see what happens, because I think this year above any other year is going to be interesting because we don't know exactly what's going to happen down the road here. But
well, it'd be good to see the fans back in the stands. I kind of miss that. I miss the podiums are not as exciting when there's not all the people.
Yeah, I do miss that. Well, this next story right here, I'm going to try not to get my blood boiled here, but Chaz, I see the Haas logo there. Mercedes guy wearing.
I was telling you guys I got a backpack, but it broke down. It literally it lasted 2 months, and one of the straps just fell. It just like came apart. It literally just came apart.
That's funny.
You know, that joke was funny an hour ago. Still funny now.
Still
Oh,
funny.
it's not a joke. It's not a joke. I actually bought a backpack, and it actually fell apart.
So it's consistent with the racing team.
It must have been made. It must have been designed by Haas engineers. Yes.
Well, to that point, I digged up a story. This was back in October of 2019, where their team principal was quoted in saying they wish that they listened to their drivers more. 2019, October of 2019, they said that. And yet throughout 2020, throughout the rest of 2019, 2020, they struggled even more than they did. And to me, if you don't listen to your drivers then, which granted, say what you will about Romain Grosjean and Kevin Magnussen, they probably not championship material, but they do have a wealth of information behind them. If you don't listen to those
for a long time.
Was that Chaz?
They've been driving for a long time. They're veteran drivers.
So who are the drivers for Haas?
Well, we're going to get into that here in a minute.
Because it wasn't either of the names that you just said.
No.
we gotta let Brock go off. Go on, Brock. Tell people how you feel.
If you don't listen to those honestly, I mean, why in the hell are you in the position you are right now? You don't listen. I mean, you got another story right here posted in October of 2020, a year later, from F1. I'm killing trees now, but this was quoted by Magnussen right here. I would have considered it very seriously if they offered something from Haas, if they offered him another deal, but I am looking elsewhere for a while. I've been looking elsewhere for a while. So him, and I know Grosjean is very, polite in his delivery. He said, has been financial reasons why Haas has replaced both the drivers because of COVID and what's happened last year and everything. I think that for the most part, they were just fed up. Both Romain Grosjean and Kevin Magnussen were both just fed up, not being listened to, because you're saying, they say, the car's not working right. We have tire problems. We have brake problems. We have to look at the issue of A, B, and C before we get to X, Y, and Z, before we win any championships. And they, for the longest time, the engineers, the management did not listen to him. Mr. Haas, from day one, he stayed on the podium when he introduced a Formula One team. He said, we're going to beat the Europeans at their own game. And what did he do? He hired nothing but Europeans. Say what you will. Say what you will. Now, I'm sorry, I'm just trying to get my thoughts together because I'm really not trying to pull up here. But if they were really smart, and we're going to get to this here in a minute, but if they were smart, they would, first off, go to Ford. You go to Ford and you say, hey, we've been with Ferrari for a few years now. We have a working relationship with you right now in NASCAR, but we have been working with Ferrari. We know their schematics. We know their setup. Hey, let's see if we can work together here. And if they're really smart, you get the Ford, you get American crew members, you get American engineers, you get American drivers, even if it's reserved. The last American driver was Alexander Rossi in 2015. He was a reserve driver. Now he's blown it up in IndyCar right now. You do those things to get it, not only American audience, one, FIA, Formula One, Haas, I hope you listen to this, but that's how you get an American audience, but that's also how you get a championship team first off, because if you want an American team to beat the Europeans at their own game. You get American people to do it. Mike, I probably said too much already, but
Well, on the bright side, with the new drivers that they've brought in, one of them has some good blood in it. Hopefully that transfers from Poppy down to him. Talk about Mick Schumacher, the son of Michael Schumacher, the 7-time drivers champion winner, and I don't know the other guy.
the other guy's not worth mentioning to me. Honestly,
I haven't done any research on him, but to be an F1 driver, you've had to go. They just don't pick people off the street. So I'm sure he's got some lineage to him and some success in Formula 3 and Formula 4 and all that stuff. So,
well,
I'm not going to disprove him, but the only name that I know is Mick Schumacher, and I've heard good things about him coming up through the ranks. So, I mean. But you're right. If they still don't listen to their drivers, those two are going to get disgruntled, and they're going to leave in a couple of years too.
Well, to my point there, you just proved it. You don't listen to veteran drivers. How in the hell are you going to listen to rookies? You don't.
Well, maybe that's their thought process. We're going to get a couple of kids in here that don't know any better, control them, other than these know-it-all drivers that we don't listen to. We'll see. I mean, it sounds to me like a recipe for disaster, but weirder things have happened.
Yeah, it frustrates me because I am a Ferrari fan. I'm a Haas fan. And honestly, I mean, you have Schumacher, fantastic driver. Now, going in the ranks of the Formula Series, the first year he goes in those Formula Series, he doesn't finish in the top 10 or anything like that. In fact, he pretty much falls towards the bottom of the pack, but that's what he does. He learns the tracks, he learns the car, he learns the team, he learns the other drivers, everything around him, and then he builds up from there, which is good. But let's be honest, he's actually being built 2 to 3 years later to be a Ferrari driver, not to stay with Haas. And the other driver...
That's where his dad had all his successes with Ferraris.
Right. And the other driver said before, honestly, he's not worth mentioning the name, but I heard he's a real troublemaker when he was in Formula 2.
Nikita Mazepin.
Anyway.
I'm sorry. I just want to see your reaction.
Chaz, do you see something different that I'm not seeing?
Yeah. So, I mean, look, I think what's happening is pretty...
How to get the best tool for creating stunning videos?
That right there is probably the best response for Haas right there.
No, but what we see happening here is so what was his name? The drivers for last season at Haas?
Grosjean and Magnussen.
Yeah. So Grosjean, when he left, he had a lot to say about Haas. He was basically like, look, I don't have to bite my tongue anymore. I can just say what I really feel, right? And one of the things that he said when he left was that there were issues with the back end of the car. So we know that the car is trash. He said that it was like barely drivable. And Gunther, when he called him, he's basically like, look, I'm going to let both of you guys go. We have to because of COVID. Business has been tough, and they did what makes absolutely all the sense in the world for a business that's struggling, is they bring in someone who has money, right? So obviously for Mick has money behind him, and he has support and sponsorships behind him. Nikita is the son of a Russian billionaire. So he's basically Stroll 2.0. I don't know if he's as bad as Stroll. His dad doesn't own the team, but his dad's a billionaire. So, I mean, if we're wondering like why he's there, that is why he's there. Like, we don't have to say, oh, like, is he the best? No, he's not the best option. His dad is funding him being there, and the team needs money. So I think it really is that simple. I mean, Haas still wants to be in Formula One because they like having the name out there, right? But yeah, I think it's as old. It's a story as old as time. When it comes to Formula One, like Mike said so articulately a couple weeks ago, F1 is a money sport, right? And so if we're wondering why certain things are happening, it's very likely that money is motivating it.
Well, I tell you, I got debt coming out the years right now, but that probably not would stop me to buy a plane ticket to either North Carolina or their facility in London and just go knock on the door and say, "Quit the grab ass and get to work."
That's right. Americans.
But
American.
we're going to get to the power units here in a minute. But Mike, I want your opinion on that possible point about, hey, why don't you go with Ford? Why don't you go with another power unit? See you have other success, and now granted, apples and oranges here that you're not really seeing. But if Ford was pretty popular and was successful in Formula One before, matching up with Haas, but who's been in there for a few years, I think that's a winning combination.
Well, I can't remember the gist of why Ford left F1, but you're right. They had a lot of success not only in Formula One but also in Le Mans. And I don't. It might have been a money issue. Is why they got out of F1. I'd have to do more research on it. I can't remember off the top of my head. But right now it seems like in IndyCar racing it's Chevy and Honda, and in F1 it's Mercedes, Renault, and Honda. Right?
And Mercedes.
Yeah, Mercedes, Renault, and Honda are the power plants. So where's Ford? Where's Chrysler? Where's Dodge? Where's Mopar? I would love to see Mopar get into F1. That would be awesome. That'd be amazing. I mean, they lose because their cars would never work, but it'd be cool to see the logo. I can't really say that. I would just like to see. I would like to see an American manufacturer back into European racing. And Ford seems like the logical choice only because they had such success with it. I mean, they had a whole classification, Formula Ford. That was one of the tiers to get into Formula One, is you had to go through Formula Ford. They were all Fords. So I don't know why they stopped, but yeah, that would be a good marriage if Haas would get an American power plant from an American manufacturing company and then go, be competitive, be in the mix.
Right.
And I don't know why they don't. I don't know if maybe they did and Ford said no. I don't know.
Well, I mean, there's still time. Honestly, them going with Ferrari is probably the best not the best decision.
Ferrari's the other one. Right. Ferrari, Renault, Mercedes, and Honda.
Right. Well, with Haas going Ferrari in the beginning, I think that's a good decision because it establishes Haas as a team. But now they could been in there for a few years. They could go to Ford and say, let's do something together. We could probably be very competitive in the next few years, especially with the new power unit coming out. This makes all the sense in the world, but I don't know.
It'd be a good time. Yeah. Be a good time for them to get back in the mix.
I just need to take a step back and just breathe for a minute and just count my thoughts. But let's go into another discussion. I'll jump this off here. With Honda leaving the F1, which power unit, new or old, would you like to see in Formula One? For me, I know it's once again apples and oranges, but since they dominated DTM the past few years, in fact, they won the last 3 of the 4 years, I'd like to see Audi back into it. And for a glimpse of hope, for a brief moment when Honda announced them leaving Formula One, I thought it'll be a perfect fit for Red Bull and Audi to join together because other racing platforms, Audi and Red Bull race together. So it was almost makes sense, a good marriage of them coming together and making a team out of it and just them, Red Bull, AlphaTauri, a nice winning combination. But now, I guess my dream just died a little bit right there. So,
Well, I would love to see Audi return to Formula One. Audi got its name or got its start in Formula One and Le Mans and racing. And Audi actually started out as a company called Auto Union, which was a union of 4 different car manufacturers that were all trying to get together to beat Mercedes. That's, this is back in the 40s and early 50s. And incidentally, that's the 4 rings in the Audi logo represent the 4 original car companies whose names escape me. 2 of them were British. They all kind of came together to beat Mercedes. And that became Auto Union, which turned into Audi. And I would love to see Audi back in there. But you know who I'd love to see get back into, especially Formula One racing, is BMW. I think they could really get a good power plant together, and that would be a good, seeing that their competitors outside in the civilian market, BMW and Mercedes, that would be an interesting twist to F1 if BMW and Mercedes were back head to head in racing capacity, especially on that platform. I think they still have Le Mans. BMW still races Le Mans
and DTM.
I know they do. I know they do GP.
Yeah,
the motorcycles, but I think they're in Le Mans. I'll have to look that. Hold on, let me see. That would be cool to see them back in F1. I'd like to see that anyway.
I like to see more, and that's one of the things I'm really disappointed in IndyCar, that you only got Honda, you only got Chevrolet in there, and getting more.
That's the only 2, yeah.
And with Honda leaving, I mean, that opens the door, and I'd like to get into that discussion too soon. But
It's going to be Chevy.
Just be Chevy. There you go. But Chaz, how about you? What do you see? What power unit engine you like to see back in Formula One, or a new one for that matter?
Yeah, so I think I'd like to see Subaru. No, I'm just kidding.
What?
That would be awesome. I would automatically be a fan of Subaru rolled in.
No, I mean maybe Phil's a rally. Yeah, no, I mean I was always a fan of Lotus. I know that they're now they transitioned into what Renault is now, but yeah, I'm a huge fan of Lotus. Love their cars, love their heritage and their classic liveries. The John Player Special is one of my favorite car liveries of all time. Obviously, the cool ass John Player Special Rolex, which is just a freaking boss ass, black and gold. I think his reference number is 6264. It's just a sick ass car. I mean, I'll never be able to afford it. It's sold for like a 1.7 million or something crazy. But anyways, I'm a huge fan of Lotus. I love their cars. The Evora is a dream car. It'd be cool to see them in F1 again.
Well, that's great. And I'm not going to make any promises.
BMW, incidentally, I just looked it up on the internet. They're one of the leading manufacturers in Formula E, the electric cars.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, they need to get back into the motor cars.
Audi's in there too in Formula E.
Yeah.
That's
but BMW is still big in Le Mans, Daytona and Le Mans. 24-hour races.
That's where probably all their money's going, is Formula E. They probably won't have too much money left over to go into Formula One. I don't know, but
well, we discussed this in another show. I watched the Formula E and gave it a shot. And it's just not the same.
Right.
There's no. Huh?
I think they're betting on the future.
Yeah. Well, they're not very fast, to be honest, and all the tracks are very short because you can only go so far in a battery charge. And it's there's no areas where you just open up, click the DRS open, and you're hauling ass at 270 miles an hour. There's none of that. it reminds me of when we go out to the parking lots on the weekends and watch the kids with the electric cars. That's what it reminds me of. It just, I couldn't get into it.
What if
Might not
Tesla
have a
got
choice here in the near future, but right now I still want to hear the roar. I want to hear that. I want to hear that turbocharged V8 or V6.
I was watching it one time. I just noticed like the cars going by. I was expecting to hear like good sounding engines all over here. Zzz, 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 zzz,
Yeah.
zzz.
And those aren't even the engines. Those are the bearings and the wheels. That's what's making all the noise.
Yeah, you're literally just hearing the tires. Yeah, it would be. What if Tesla got in the Formula E game, just like dominated? Yeah,
They would come out and their car would look like something out of Logan's Run. It'd have all these weird angles, not look like anything else.
Yeah.
Have no purpose whatsoever, but it's a truck.
Well,
Yeah, BMW's big in the Daytona and Le Mans. It looks like in Formula E.
mm-hmm. Well, said before, they're also big into DTM racing. That gave Audi a run a couple years ago for their championship. That and Mercedes. Aston Martin just made their move into DTM a couple of seasons ago too, and they're not doing too well, of course. But at least there they have a little bit of variety. But there's also announced that they are also going like electric in DTM as well. So goodbye engines, I guess.
And see, BMW was in F1 all the way up to 2009.
Yeah, pretty recent.
BMW Sauber was the last team. Or 2005, Williams race. 2000 to 2005.
Mm. Well, guys, I promise. Well, I can't make any promises, but I'll try not to blow up next time.
Well, if that was you blowing up, I'm okay with it.
I guess I might need to do it more often then. I don't know.
I don't know. I might try to push your buttons a little more. I was kind of disappointed. I was waiting for pictures to come off the wall and that lamp back there.
I can still do it. I mean, I just.
I don't know, Chaz. Okay, what do you think, Chaz? I'm kind of disappointed in our boy here.
I was trying to.
No, go ahead.
No, I was just trying to control myself. I know this is civil talk here. I just, almost NPR type, but just. But.
Yeah, I don't want to be on the receiving end of that, so I'll stay out of it. I don't want to receive your wrath. He blows up the way Mercedes blows up, where it's like it's very composed, right? Like they still win the race, right? It's just like he's still super composed. He says everything that he needs to say when he doesn't punch any holes in the wall or anything. Maybe he does. I don't know.
Why do you think I have this big poster right here?
Yeah, he's got all those little photos in the back. Yeah, those are just holes.
Let's not go there, please. But no.
He's got so many holes in his wall, you think he's trying to break out of Shawshank.
And on that note, we'll see you next time. If you have any topics you'd like for us to cover, email us, theforumofracing@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter @forumofracing, and we'll see you next time right here on the F1 Roundtable.
Peace. See you later, guys.
Yeah.